Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. One of the ways Allah describes His book is Al-Qaul, the statement. It's a very interesting way to describe the Qur'an. Because in life, we're always looking for the expert statement. If I come to you and I say, take this medication for this particular sickness, you tell me, hey, you're not a doctor. Where did you get that from? I say, oh, my brother is a doctor and he's expert in this field and he said to take this medication for this sickness. Then you completely change your attitude and change your mind. Why? Because the statement was made by an expert. Who's more knowledgeable than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Sometimes it's very interesting how we look at the Qur'an. Just a book that I can read and get reward and just go to Jannah. It's good for the hereafter, but it's not helpful, or it's not, I cannot use it much in this world. The Qur'an is full of statements that helps us prosper in this world financially, emotionally, family-wise, as an individuals, as families, as communities, and as a society. That's why when Allah calls the Qur'an Qaul, it's a very interesting way. It rings a different part in the heart and mind of the believer. Allah tells His Prophet in the early revelations in Surah Al-Muddathir, Innā sanulqī alayka qawlan thaqīlā. We will throw at you, reveal to you a heavy statement. This is early on in the earliest revelations, because these heavy statements will solve the problem of the individual, of the family, of the community, of society, of humanity, of the planet. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls Al-Quran Al-Kareem qawlan thaqīlā. Allah also in Al-Quran Al-Kareem said, Innā laqawlun fasl, wa ma huwa bilhazl. This word is a criterion, a separator between what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, what is truth and what is falsehood, what is beneficial and what is harmful. Innahu laqawlun fasl, wa ma huwa bilhazl. This is a very criterion statement that separates between falsehood and truth, and it's not a joke. This is not a book of comedy. This is not a book for laughing. This is a book that holds a very serious business, the salvation of the human. And that's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives a glad news to the believers in the Qur'an. وَبَشِّرْ عِبَادٍ. Give glad news to my ibad, to Allah's ibad. Who are these ibad? الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ. Those who hear the word of Allah, those statements of Allah, and they follow the best of it. They follow it with the best action. So you're not in Ramadan just reading the Qur'an. You're not just listening to the Imam in Salat al-Taraweeh reciting the Qur'an. You have a goal. You want to follow the direction. You want to follow the statements. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Qur'an, do not walk on earth arrogantly. Don't be boastful. Don't be full of yourself. You're not the center of the universe. When you take these, when Allah tells us walk on earth humbly, are you taking that statement and turning it into action? That's the question. That's why Ramadan is a chance to read the book of Allah, turn those instructions into action, live up to the high levels. Look at what we do in Ramadan. We feed the poor, we feed our neighbors, we give charity, we check on ourselves in Salat al-Taraweeh. It's like we strengthen our relationship with Allah, our relationship with the believers, our relationship with ourselves, and with the closest people to us. My dear brothers and sisters, taking the Qur'an as the expert's statement. Is there someone more knowledgeable than Allah? Of course not. Al-Alim al-Khabir, the knowledgeable, the one who knows the depth and the expertise of every subject matter. So it affects your attitude when you deal with the Qur'an, when you hear that Allah called the Qur'an Al-Qaul, the statement, the declaration that declares pieces, statements of truth, instructions, guidance, mercy, enlightenment to mankind. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us hold the word of Al-Quran, Al-Qaul, in a high place in our hearts and minds. Ameen ya Rabbal Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.